Merhaba. We've been talking about different time frames in Turkish in this class so far, right? So it's time to talk about the aorist tense. In aorist tense, you say things like, we go to school every day, the world revolves around the sun, for these things like, habitual things that happens all the time and every day. Or, interestingly, in Turkish, you use this tense for, would you like coffee? Would you close the door? Okay? All right. So, yes, we talk about most of the time in general things. That's the main function of this tense. There are three forms of aorist tense, and I will just briefly talk about it. There are lists in your worksheet. The first one is when the verb ends with a vowel. So you add re to the stem. For instance, yemek, yer. Demek, der. Dinlemek, dinler. Okay? When the monosyllabic verb ends with a consonant, you add er. Bakmak, bakar. Gülmek, güler. Gezmek, gezer. When the polysyllabic verb ends either with a vowel or a consonant, you add ır. Çalışmak, çalışır. Oturmak, oturur. Sevinmek, sevinir. All right? There are exceptions to the monosyllabic verbs, and there are 13 of them. I'll give you the list in your worksheet, but let me give you a few examples here. Almak, alır. Bulmak, bulur. Okay, so the full list is going to be in your worksheet. Okay, you know the drill. At this point, I will ask you to pick a verb from each group and conjugate in 4 different forms: positive, negative, question, and negative question, so that you get used to using the aorist form. But watch out with the third person again in negative. It changes quite a bit in the negative form. What is the positive? Olmak, olur. But then the negative, it becomes olmaz. All right. So what are the ways we use aorist tense in Turkish? As I mentioned, it's used in general statements. For instance, filler et yemez. Elephants don't eat meat. Ben sigara içmem. I don't smoke. Superman kimseden korkmaz. Superman is not scared of anyone. So these things are all general statements, and it is true for most of the time. But for instance, in this last example, I said Superman kimseden korkmaz, and I translated as Superman is not scared of anyone. In English translation, it sounds like he's not scared in the present, right? Because we use it in the present continuous tense, is not scared. But in Turkish, when you use it in aorist tense, it's actually saying he's not scared of anyone at all times. By nature, basically. He's not scared. So if I were to say specifically now, the present, I would say Superman kimseden korkmuyor. And that would mean he's not scared of anyone right now. Okay? So that's why I say Superman kimseden korkmaz. That's a general statement. That's his nature, right? So, okay. The second common use of the aorist tense is to show willingness to do something, but with a vague commitment. Okay? So let me give you an example. Yarın size gelirim. I would come to you tomorrow. See how I translated is I would come to you tomorrow. I didn't say I will come to you tomorrow. If I were to say I will come to you tomorrow, then I should say yarın size geleceğim. That's more definite. that I will come tomorrow. But if you say it in aorist tense, yarın size gelirim, not quite sure. I will try. Right? And sometimes it's hard to give the exact same meaning in English if you are staying in the same time frame. All right? So that's why translations sometimes don't work. That's why it's also used for asking, for instance, bir kahve içer misiniz? Would you like a cup of coffee? Bir kahve içer misiniz? And then you say, teşekkür ederim, again in the aorist tense, right? So in English, would you like some coffee? I think that's a nice translation there. Another very common use of aorist tense is when you make polite requests. For instance, lütfen kapıyı kapatır mısınız? Would you please close the door? Lütfen tuzu verir misiniz? Would you please pass the salt? Or bir dakika bakar mısınız? Would you look here for a moment? Or when you go to a restaurant, the waiter asks, ne arzu edersiniz? What would you like? So that's, very common to hear at a restaurant, right? Sometimes it can be used in a negative for ultra politeness. Oturmaz mısınız? Wouldn't you sit? Would you like to sit or wouldn't you sit? Bir çay almaz mısınız? Wouldn't you have tea? Okay. And aorist tense is used in most of the greetings and expressions. Affedersiniz, which we just talked about. Teşekkür ederim. Özür dilerim. I'm sorry. Or for the common expressions such as kim bilir? Who knows? Allah bilir. God knows. Bilmem? I don't know. I'm not sure. Okay. Finally, the aorist can sometimes be used for telling narratives, for anecdotal jokes. And so let me give you an example. Adamın biri bir sirke gider ve iş ister. Ben çok iyi kuş taklidi yaparım der. Onlar da bizim kuş taklitçisine ihtiyacımız yok derler. Adam ısrar eder ama ben çok iyi kuş taklidi yaparım der. Yine dinlemezler. Bunun üzerine adam pencereyi açar, uçar, gider. No, I will not translate. I'm sure you'll get it if you listen to it a few times. If not, we'll talk about it in class. Of course, you know what's next, right? I will ask you to tell a joke this week. Get ready. At least you know in what form you're going to say it, right? All right, so please do your worksheet, study well, and bring your questions to class. Kolay gelsin.